There's a lot of news that happened today here in the United States, and here's a recap in case you missed some of it. I know the biggest thing that you didn't miss, though we're going to talk about, is the Epstein files, because 3.5 million pages or documents were released today. In addition to that, over 2,000 videos and 180,000 images. These were finally released after pressure from Congressman Ro Khanna and other congressmen pushing to get all of these released, even though it was a couple weeks behind. The U.S. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche confirmed that the files span more than 2 decades and that this is everything. They include the investigation in Florida and New York and the prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell. They also have records on Epstein's death and then internal FBI and DOJ communications. But there is a catch. About 200,000 of these pages are heavily redacted. And the DOJ did state there's going to be some stuff in here that may be released by mistake, and from the looks of it, looks like some of the stuff was released and then taken back. But for the most part, while things were released, it's not everything. They're kind of partial reveals. Now we're hearing from the survivors who are actually quite furious about this. The coalition of the Epstein survivors released a blistering statement saying the DOJ exposed victims while protecting powerful men, referring to many of the redactions inside the documents. They say that this is being sold as transparency, but it exposes survivors and shield the men who abuse them. DOJ say that they redacted some of those things because there's still ongoing investigations. All this comes as a government shutdown is kind of not happening. To explain this simply, the Senate finally passed it today, but now it gets kicked back down to the House where they have to vote on it, and well, they're not back in session until Monday. In this bill, it fully funds 5 major government departments long term, but it only gives a 2-week extension for DHS. So if the House passes it Monday morning, there really won't be a shutdown, or at least there'll be partially a one, but as long as it moves through a Monday, we're not going to be seeing a shutdown. Next, Donald Trump earlier this morning announced who he wants for the Fed chair. This is Governor Kevin Walsh. If approved by Congress, he would be replacing Jerome Powell, but right now it looks like investors are not happy about this because, well, the stock market took a little bit of a dive. And lastly, we're talking about Don Lemon, who was charged and arrested by the Trump administration in connection with covering a protest at a Minneapolis church. In his words, he says, "This will not stop me. The First Amendment protects this work, but I will tell you that independent journalists are looking at this at every single angle because Don Lemon does have the legal teams and the money to fight these things, but not independent journalists, which means please support your independent journalists." I'll be breaking down all of these news stories and more on my Substack. The link to that is in my bio.